and welcome to Driven Women TV. I'm Marie Younger Blackburn, your host for Driven Women TV. Today we are here with Megan Braga, English Braga, okay, and Jessica Lambert. And we're going to talk today about women who are running for political office. We're so excited to be back. We've been away for a couple of weeks because we just completed Driven Cape Cod's Conference for Women. And by all accounts, it was a great success. We were able to drive women at a time of year in March over the bridge to share in a very useful and relevant conference with the women here on Cape Cod. We had unprecedented diversity for that day. We had high energy, lots of collaboration, and we want to continue this great work by showcasing women in business and other interest, people of interest on our show. So again, today we're here with Megan English Braga, who is a mother and an attorney. She's also on the finance committee here in Falmouth. You are running for Selectman here in Falmouth,
Yes.
Which is not uncommon for women here in Falmouth, which is good news.
Yes.
You are, again, an attorney. You graduated from Suffolk University, and I just want you to talk to the audience about your accomplishments, because there are many, and I'd like you to.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me here today. Really excited to be able to talk a little bit about my thoughts for my run as selectman. And I don't know about my accomplishments. They are they are what they are. But most importantly, I would say that I really do have a deep connection to the town of Falmouth. My family's been here for a long time, and I can't imagine really living anywhere else. I had, the opportunity. I graduated from Falmouth High School, had the opportunity to go away to Wellesley College for my undergraduate degree, but always came back working. I worked all through college, so came back and waitressed and chambermaided and cleaned houses here. Really did, all the jobs that folks who live here year-round have to be well-versed in, all of the service industry professions. I always say that everyone in this town has at least usually 2 or 3 jobs.
Sure.
And many more passions than that. And then, went on to get a degree in education, worked in the field of education for some time, and then went to law school nights. And when I graduated in 2009, decided to open my practice here in Falmouth. And certainly it wasn't the most lucrative decision, because it can be a tougher market to break into.
Sure.
But it meant a lot to me to come back to this community and work with, I do work for children, and I work with adults and juveniles for criminal defense work, and I do a lot of family work. And really that's part of my belief in serving this community, and that the community doesn't just exist, it has to be built, it
Sure.
has to be preserved, and that's what I hope to do as selectman. Really hoping to build on so many of the positive assets that this town has. We have natural resources that are, just incredible in terms of drawing people to such a beautiful place. But more importantly, we have people resources that I think you'd be hard-pressed to find more harder working individuals, multi-talented individuals that live in this town, and folks who are incredibly versatile and resourceful.
Sure.
And that's, my hope is to really bring that out in a way that builds this community and moves it forward.
Yes. I find that in building Cape Cod's Conference for Women, that there are so many women here on Cape Cod, and men of course, but who are so talented and multi-talented and well-versed in a lot of things. And that brings me to Jessica. I had the pleasure of meeting and sitting with you, and your story is very interesting, and I'd like you to share it with our audience, who you are, a little bit of your bio. I could do it for you, but I'd like you to talk to our audience and let them know who you are.
Well, I've been coming to the Cape my entire life. I have some very embarrassing little baby photos of me being bathed in a sink out over by the ocean. And as soon as I was able, I wanted to come back to this community, because I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and this has always been the mainstay, the staple in my life. And I'm conventionally trained as a conservation biologist, but straight out of college, I started to work in politics, because I found that the best way for me to make the difference that I was seeking was to do so by policy changes. So I ended up interning at the White House, and that parlayed into work at the Council on Environmental Quality, working on the National Ocean Council, the formation of that. And since then, I've been lucky enough to move into Falmouth and have a home here. And I'm running for state rep, because I think that we need to have people in political office that have look at policies and look at them from a fiscally responsible perspective, but also something that is environmentally responsible and socially responsible. So I'm here today to try to help improve our world.
Awesome. And it takes great courage, ladies, I just want to say, to run for office, particularly for a woman. I think we are fortunate to have some candidates this year in the presidential election, Hillary Clinton, for the highest office in the land. And I think it sends a good message to young women that we are able to reach the highest of heights, and that we should dream big. And a political office is service, so it is I commend you on wanting to serve your communities. You're both fairly young women.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And again, that speaks to, there's a trend here on Cape Cod where people are leaving because they're not able to make a living and to do those things that they could otherwise in other parts of the country. So I just want you to tell me a little bit more about what, I know you are a lifelong Falmouth resident, but what really is it that is so appealing here that you would want to come here and raise your family and serve in this community?
Sure. I think, aside from the family connections that I have here, I mean, it's 2016, you can stay connected to your family even when you live far away.
Sure.
But there is something that's special about this place, and it's hard to put, an exact explanation on it, but I think what it is that the people who live here are go-getters, and they're hard workers, and they have this spirit in them that through those long winter months when the tourists aren't here and the dollars are harder to come by,
sure.
The people who live here year-round, they make it work, and they have for a long time. This is a community that was a farming community, a fishing community, and the businesses kind of built up around that. And it's changed, and so I think people look at the Cape, if they're not from here, sometimes they think of it as this kind of quaint seaside town that you come and visit, image of a postcard type of place, but there's something much more energetic and dynamic about this community. And I really believe that. I think that we are a community that comes together when we need to.
Sure.
I mean, we have our divisions, but we're a community that really comes together because we understand that we have to work together to make it work because of the way our economy is somewhat limited. My slogan for my campaign, if you will, is Falmouth Forward. And what I really want to think about is how do we grow, how do we hang on to those roots and that tradition and that connectedness that is, I think, very unique to our community, but push it forward and develop it so that more young people can stay here.
Sure.
Younger families can come back and make a living, and it doesn't have to be such a tough decision between, do I want to sort of financially be able to grow and move up in my industry or my career, or do I want to be in a town that has fabulous school systems, a beautiful place to live, and a really strong and important community. I don't think we have to have that much of a dichotomy.
Sure.
I believe that we can move that forward. But I think the piece that is so singular about our community is that that spirit of connection. And it's a hard scrabble group of people. I mean, we make it through some tough times.
We do. I can attest to that. I arrived here on Cape Cod as a young woman, a single mom with a child in tow, and I have been a testament to that connectiveness, and particularly in women who shared resources, and we made it through. But Cape Cod is a unique place, and I could feel your passion when you were talking about the connectedness of people and how we band together and make it through, particularly Main Street. In the winter months, it becomes almost a ghost town sometimes, and we do have other positions and other jobs. And Jessica, you are in the Cape Cod Times today, along with 5 other candidates who are running for the seat of state representative. 5 who are under the age of 30.
Yes.
And that is unique, and it's wonderful in my opinion. We are an aging community here on Cape Cod, and to have the lifeblood of young people who want to serve.
Energize the political scene.
Yes, I really love it. So I want you to talk about that, and talk about your connection to the White House.
I personally am very excited to see so many young people getting politically engaged. I think that having that perspective, having the energy and the ability to bring novel concepts to policy that is going to impact everyone is really important. And I'm really happy to see that. I liked that article. I ended up working at the White House, and I was interning at the Office of Energy and Climate Change, and which was under Carol Browner, who was at one point the longest, she still is the longest standing EPA on record. And it was really impactful, because I actually ended up expanding policies that were, originally from Massachusetts, and trying to expand them to the federal level so that everyone could have the opportunities that this wonderful state has. And I was inspired, because one of the things, without regard for where someone stands on things in politics, it's one of the things that the Obama administration did do, is it demonstrated to young people that you could actually have young, active individuals make an impact on these monumental issues. And I was very touched by that, and it changed my perspective. It changed how I thought of the political arena.
And I know some are wondering, you did put your papers in for selectman at one point, and then you changed and you decided you want to run for state representative. Can you just tell our audience what prompted you to do that, so we can put that on the table right now?
Absolutely. Firstly, I had approached people regarding that a while ago, but I didn't want to run against Tim. And I spoke with him directly following that, and I said, I'm just letting you know I'm interested in this. Because the thing is that I'm interested in making these kinds of impacts. I think I can do a lot of that at the state level. And I know that there's amazing candidates like this one right here, who are running for the selectman seat. So I think that I can hopefully bring that kind of change and those kinds of perspectives at the state level.
And Megan, I want to ask you, why selectmen and why now?
Well, I had thought about it for a while, but I think it's maybe the Portuguese heritage of you got to work from the bottom up. And my feeling was that I needed time on the finance committee, really, to get some of that, the nuts and bolts. I mean, I certainly understand the issues in this town. I feel like I have a good sense of the people in this town. I've been here for a long time, but to get a real sense of the numbers, and that's what Finance Committee does. I mean, we look at the budget, we review everything, we ask hard questions about how money is spent, and so I've done that for several years now, and I felt that the time was right. Certainly, we do have, as you mentioned earlier, a long legacy of wonderful leadership, particularly leadership of women in this town. And we have 2 women stepping down from the board. So I felt that it was the right time, despite having a 6-month-old and a 12-year-old. But those are, my children are really a motivating reason for why now, because when I look at the town of Falmouth, I want them to have the same experience growing up that I did. Again, that sense of community, but to go to a place where you can then go on to a college like Wellesley. And my other classmates who graduated with me, who went on to phenomenal schools and amazing careers, and some have come back as doctors, as artists, as folks who then went into the trades and have their own businesses. I want my son and my daughter to have that opportunity and feel, if they choose not to, that's fine.
Sure.
But to feel that this is a place they could see themselves coming back and starting a business or starting their career. And I think if you don't put the work in, you really can't expect anybody else to.
Sure. And one of the topics that we had at this year's conference was work-life balance. And you mentioned having a 6-month-old and a son who's here on the set, and we appreciate having him. You want to talk to us about some of the responsibilities of a select woman and how you feel you are going to be able to handle that?
Sure. I would say that I run my own business. I run my own law practice. It's just basically me. I have a paralegal that comes in, once or twice a week, and I've been on finance committee and a number of other committees and organizations. So I don't sleep much. I never have. I like to be involved.
Sure.
It is it's the lifeblood that keeps me going.
Sure.
When I've had to, my son comes with me to meetings. My daughter, she comes with me. And I have a wonderful husband who is right now a stay-at-home dad for our daughter and for our son. And so I find that you make it work. It's sometimes, of course, challenging, but I have a good support system. And again, that work to me is, part of what I'm already doing. It's a different set of tasks, and it's certainly a very important set of tasks, but it isn't as if I haven't had a similar role in other organizations. And of course, if I'm lucky enough and I am able to win a seat on the Board of Selectmen, there are some of my other things that will fall away.
Sure.
I clearly can't be on finance committee anymore, and so there'll be a shifting. But I think people talk about a work-life balance, and it's never it's a juggling act. Every day, you don't know which ball is up in the air. But at the end of the day, if your family and your children understand why you're doing what you're doing, why you go to work every day, so that they can have opportunities, they can have a home, they can have the things that make their life safe and healthy and rich, then you make it work.
Sure. And we lead by example. I raised 3 children here in Falmouth, and I did it serving on a number of committees here in Falmouth proudly, and also working and alone at sometimes and making it work. And I don't believe there's anything is balance, like you said. It's called harmony. How do you make it work, and how do you make your family?
Survival.
And it's not unique to women anymore. There's a changing, there's a shifting in how things are done. You have a husband who is primarily at home. I have one as well. And there is a shifting in a lot of things. So I want to talk to you, Jessica, and I just it takes a lot of courage, a lot of knowledge to want to become state rep. And I think that you really believe that you have what it takes, but I really want you to let our audience know, because I know, and I like to keep it real here. I know there are people wondering, she's young, she's beautiful, does she have the experience? Did she come from here? Yeah, these are kinds of things that people think. So I like to, we're going to get it out here, and give you a chance to voice, really who you are and what drives you to want to do this, and how you're uniquely qualified to run for this position and hold this position.
Okay. I come from a single-parent household, and I had what I call a super mom. She was incredible, and what I watched her go through trying to raise me, she was educated, but it was still a challenge in everything that she did. When I was 6, I was diagnosed with learning disabilities. That amazing human being called my mother actually retrained as a special education teacher in order to ensure that I was adequately looked after. And, then, I was able to do a lot of things with that knowledge. And what that did was that instilled in me a passion for helping others, because I watched other people sacrifice for me, for my ability to move forward. And what I ended up doing is I ended up graduating valedictorian of my class. I ended up working on policy recommendations at various levels of government, everything from the townships. I ended up working on a small thing called Three Falls Woods, trying to do environmental preservation. And then I ended up making that work in the political sense. And then I worked on the BP oil spill. For a while, I ended up doing a research grant for the NSF doing that, and I now work on a business that I helped to co-found called Next Generation Energy Initiative, that is a non-for-profit that works towards establishing alternative energy and economic theory for both local as well as national level policies. And I ended up doing that for the UK government, and in a few weeks I will be doing a short 3-day stint to France, where I will be presenting findings in Paris. So I'm working towards socially and environmentally conscious policies and research that try to work towards trying to implement the climate change regulations, and also trying to create a resource sustainable world.
Okay, I think she answered that.
Yeah.
So I hope that my policy experience and my experience in the professional world can be seen as an asset.
Sure, sure. Experience comes through a lot of means, a lot of living. There's educational experience, life experience. I think you described part of your value system and what made you who you are, your challenges in life. I think women are uniquely equipped with some abilities like compassion, the ability to multitask. And I'm not talking from a stereotypical standpoint, but it's true. We have a certain compassion that's built into us where we see need. And I know you talked about that when I was reading your bio. You talked about even the hardest working people, even the most educated people have need. And you want to help to address that need. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I think that it becomes a bit of a myth that we think that people present a certain way, either on paper or in person. They look a certain way on paper, and therefore they're doing okay, or they look a certain way when you see them and they're struggling. Sure. And I think that that's something that we need to break that down, because that's not accurate. People go through, and I see this in my work. When I worked in education, I did special needs advocacy work, and I also worked as a clinician for incarcerated boys. And I worked with their families and with the community stakeholders to try to reintegrate them back in after they had done their committed sentence. And as an attorney, I work with people who are in transition. And people, come from all walks of life and are having a struggle. They're going through a divorce, they've lost a loved one, they've had some run-in with the law that perhaps they've never had before, and they're looking for help. They're looking for connection. They're looking for support, and that's really, I think, what the role of a community is. It's not about handouts. People always talk about that. It's not that at all. It's about recognizing that each one of us at a certain time needs support. We're all going to have it, whether our elders in our community who are aging, who maybe don't have family members here, they need support at certain times. Our young people who are dealing with real challenges of the opioid crisis, I see it every day in the court system, they need support. And again, they're from all walks of life. So I think, and the folks who are in the middle who are just trying to make a living, or who have a business and they want to get it up off the ground, but they don't have either the know-how, that little last component to make it work, or that startup money that they need. That's what community is for. And it's not a touchy-feely kind of thing. It's a real thing. That's how we live as a town, by helping folks through transition and through those challenges. And that's what I see the role, that's what I do for a job now, but it's what I see the role, selectmen help to make policy that really looks at the transition at every level, from the town level all the way down to individuals. I was just at a selectmen's meeting where there was a gentleman who had gone through a really difficult health crisis and had lost his shellfish license and was there asking to have it back because it's the only kind of work he can do now with his particular physical abilities. And that's something that the selectmen voted on. So it's very individual, all the way up to a greater policy level when we look at affordable housing and things like that.
Sure.
So I do believe very strongly that every single one of us at some point in time, it doesn't matter how we look on paper, we need support. We are going through transitions, and that's what our role is, I think, as community members, but also as an elected official. And that's what I love to do. I do it as a profession.
Sure.
I do it personally, and that's what I hope to bring at that selectman level.
Yeah, and that's what we hope to bring with Cape Cod's Conference for Women. We want to inspire women to go out and to be the change in their own communities like you two. Maybe not run for office, but there's something that we all can do. And Jessica, do you want to talk about some of the things that you do currently or have done in the past in this community, some of the boards you sit on or committees that you sit on to help serve this community?
I am a member of the Human Services Committee, and I volunteer with the Energy Committee, and I am an active member of the Falmouth Town Democratic Committee.
Awesome.
And I have done beach cleanups, and I've been part of, gosh, I need my resume in front of me. I've been working to try to create climate change awareness through several working groups. So I feel a very intimate connection with the town of Falmouth. And I think that, honestly, I chose Falmouth. I wanted to come here. I wanted to be a part of this community. I saw it, as a little kid and then as I grew up. And this is the place that I want to be. I love the people here. I love the energy, the enthusiasm. Honestly, this is one of the towns that is just most politically active that I've ever seen in my life. It's wonderful that we have this kind of strength and this kind of character that we want to be involved. And I agree with you. I think that the number of women who are involved is spectacular. I would hope that that would be something that we could kind of also translate and expand upon into other communities as well.
Awesome. We have about 1 minute left, and I just want you guys to use this moment to speak to the audience and really let them know what makes you uniquely qualified for this position that you're running for, selectman.
Sure. I would say that what qualifies me for this position is that, I said this before, Falmouth it's in my DNA. I could go on for hours about what is wonderful about this community, but what I believe really has to happen is that we can't be stagnant. We have to be dynamic. We have to be vibrant. We have to find ways to meet the challenges that we have as a real town with a very big budget. We have some small town values, but we have big numbers and we have some big challenges. But those challenges come with real opportunity to meet them and to grow and to move forward. And I think what I bring to it is a real ability to problem solve. It's what I do for a job, and a real passion for getting into in the mix and really working on tough problems and working with all of the stakeholders to come up with something that we can live with, and that helps move us in the direction that we need to. So,
Jessica, I want to give you a moment to speak. Yeah,
she was doing such a good job.
She is. And,
you have to cut me off because I just go.
Yeah, she has a lot of passion, and I know you do too, and you want to let people know what makes you uniquely qualified for the job of state representative.
I have worked for years with, I think, some of the hardest challenges that our community is going to face, which is on resource scarcity and on how we work with some of the climate change initiatives, which is unique to the district because we are a water-based community, and this is going to impact us hugely as we move forward. And I think that we need to have policy that's created because we are objective in the way we look at things, and we find something that's effective, that works with and translates into changes that are effective for the business community and for all of the people who live here. And I will certainly do that.
Again, I'm here today on Driven Women TV with my guest Megan English Braga, who is running for selectman, and Jessica Lambert, who is running for state representative for Falmouth, parts of Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. And I am just honored to have you ladies here, and I wish you the best in your endeavors. And just, you know, feel free to come back on the show and talk more if you will. And I enjoyed having you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks again, our audience, for joining us on Driven Women TV. And here is a picture of our had this year. So you guys, we usually hold these up to go on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.